Hi guys, this is gsnhome.com and I'm here with a review of the Motorola Moto G6 Plus. We've already handled the device and all of its brethren, the G6, G6 Play, and of course this biggie here. It feels sort of like a lighter version of the Motorola Moto X4, which I actually liked. It's priced at around $300 and it debuted this spring. It comes in a pretty nifty dark indigo hue. It's a combination of black and blue and it looks mighty fine. I would even say finer than the HTC U11 and U12. It's a 5.9 incher with a clean Android Oreo. It's made of glass and metal. It's basically a glass and metal sandwich. Metal frame, of course, glass at the front, glass at the back, and in spite of that, it's not slippery. And it also has a pretty good grip in my hand and the buttons are quite responsive. It's a white phone, so you can forget about one-hand usage. And in case you're wondering, I find the weight, 167 grams, to be quite okay for the 5.9 inch screen, and also 8 millimeters in thickness, not that bad, and a pretty nice build, pretty elegant and solid reflections. And by the way, it does not draw prints or smudges, and it's also slightly splash proof, waterproof, only slightly. Don't get it under the faucet. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, I keep saying it, 5.9 inch IPS LCD with a resolution of 2160 over 1080 pixels with a famous 18:9 aspect ratio. There's Gorilla Glass 3 here. The bezels are not so narrow, and when you're watching a video you'll find some annoying bezels at the top and bottom, so you may want to use a mix player to get a better experience from it, or better fitting on the screen by stretching. Anyways, this is what the experience is like. You can see the not so narrow bezels. We got some very vivid colors here, excellent brightness, okay contrast in the sunlight, and of course wide view angles. Now the pixel arrangement, let's check it out. So as usual, we have a microscope. We put the screen under the microscope and let's see what came out of that. We got RGB stripes pixel arrangement, and we also did a brightness test and achieved the top level of 573 lux units, but it's not constant. To the lower part of the screen you can even get 527, and that's quite a difference. Anyways, quite a bright screen, I have to say. Actually, I would say it's top 5, top 10 mid-rangers 2018, not bad. It beats the Samsung Galaxy S8, iPhone 8, scores below the Meizu Pro 6 Plus and the Xiaomi Mi 6. Not much fuss as far as the display options are concerned. So you go here, you got your brightness level, you got your adaptive brightness, you got your color mode, which can be set with this slider, warm, neutral or cool, and also standard or vibrant depending on your choice. Wallpaper, advanced, device rotation, font size, display size. Overall a very solid screen, maybe minus the brightness differences. Now if you want to talk about the other specs, we got a Qualcomm Snapdragn 630 CPU inside. It's actually the same CPU from the Motorola Moto X4 and the Asus Zenfone 5 Lite, and the phone comes with 4 GB of RAM. There are also versions out there that use 6 GB of RAM. Well, we have the one with 4 GB. Storage is 64 or 128 GB. There's also micro SD card slot, and luckily the experience was always fluid, had zero problems with the phone. Never malfunctioned, never froze, never one bit of problem. So no lag whatsoever, and I was also happy with the gaming. You can either play Battlegrounds Royale as I did, clean stuff up, or you can go and play the usual Riptide GP Renegade. Here we go. I'm pretty sure you will be able to run the game PUBG on it with no problems, in case it's compatible, so shouldn't be a problem. I've seen people running it on Snapdragon 625 devices. This is Snapdragon 630, so shouldn't be any trouble with that. Here we go. Riptide GP Renegade. As usual, Motorola produces some of the coolest phones out there. I'm talking about the temperature. There are devices that are right on the edge, 35 degrees Celsius, 38 degrees Celsius, this one, and many other Motorolas will barely reach 32 or 33 degrees Celsius, so that's pretty nice cooling or thermal design for them. Nice looking game too, pretty solid performance all around. Speaking of performance, we did a bunch of tests talking about benchmarks, so let's check them out. We go here, screenshots, and we got your usual stuff. You got your SunSpider, we got your Geekbench. So For example, in Geekbench 4 in the multi-core test, we scored above the Motorola Moto X4, HTC U11 Live, but below the Xperia X82 Ultra, Xiaomi Mi A1, and even the Motorola Moto G6 Plus. Now this is the Geekbench test. We also did the Antutu, which should be here somewhere. We have a lot of tests, folks, so be patient, we will find it. We did both Antutu 6 and also Antutu 7, but in the meantime we also did Slingshot, and in Slingshot we're able to beat the Sony Xperia X82 and Nokia 6.1 while scoring below the Nokia 7 Plus and the Asus Zenfone 5, which was to be expected if we're being honest. And finally, here we are. This is Antutu 7. Once again, we beat the Motorola X4. Not bad. A score below the HTC U11 Live. And more benchmarks are revealed here. Antutu 6 is here as well, above the Xperia X82 and above the Huawei P20 Lite. In the end, it's somewhere between, let's say, the Xperia X82 and the X82 Ultra, or maybe between the Huawei P20 Lite and the Nokia 6.1. Not bad, but also it's certainly no record breaker. Now, if you want to talk about temperature, as I said before, 33.9 degrees Celsius in gaming and 31.6 degrees Celsius in GFX Bench. So once again, no overheating whatsoever. On the battery front, 3200 mAh sounds like a bit of compromise for a 5.9-inch screen. It's actually not. It's a pretty decent battery. You'll see some results in a minute now. So first of all, we did a video playback test. So we started playing some video and we achieved a time of 9 hours and 54 minutes. Oh, excuse me, that's the other test. When it comes to video playback, we actually achieved 9 hours and 35 minutes, which is just okay. I've seen many phones, especially from Xiaomi, going past 10 hours, 12 hours or so. So 9 hours, 35 minutes. It beats HTC 10, Nokia 6.1, but scores below the Moto X4, Nokia 6, LG Q6. The more impressive result was the one achieved in PC Mark. It simulates continuous usage. So 9 hours 54 minutes, that's great. You can basically do gaming for that amount of time. Beats Asus Zenfone 3, Samsung Galaxy A6 2018, and even Galaxy Note 8, if you can believe it. Still, it stays below the Nokia 7 Plus and Xperia X82. A good piece of news is the charging, 1 hour and 41 minutes for a full charge and a crazy 1 hour on the dot for 87%. These settings for the battery are pretty straightforward. I'm talking about the stock settings, battery saver, battery percentage, and adaptive brightness, all that jazz. Excellent charging in 1 hour and very good continuous usage. That's the conclusion. On the acoustics front, no complications, no speaker at the bottom, no speaker at the back, only the earpiece serving up music with an extra touch of Dolby option. And I went ahead and used Play Music, which you can find here. The settings, you can go to the equalizer, many modes. You got your movie mode, music mode, game mode, voice mode, custom stuff. You got your intelligent equalizer, focus, reach, surround, virtualizer, dialogue enhancer. So a lot of stuff to tweak. I didn't actually feel them all. Maybe the movie mode kicked in. And we also have a volume leveler. Now the actual experience, let's check it out. Turning on the music. Okay, a bunch of conclusions. The sound is quite loud and the clarity is okay. However, at top volume, at maximum volume, you will feel a slight bit of distortion. The bass is rather so-so, and it feels nicer in the movies and games rather than the music somehow. We have FM radio. We don't have bundle headphones, but what we do have are a bunch of tests using our decibel meters. So 76.3 decibels were achieved when the phone is facing down, and 82.5 decibels were achieved at the top of the phone, where actually the speaker is, and this value places us above the Huawei P10 Plus and the Sony Xperia XZ1, and we scored below the Motorola Moto G5 and the Samsung Galaxy A3 2017. Now, we also did a test with the game you saw before, Riptide. A bit underwhelming. Nowadays you see many phones with something like, I don't know, 99 decibels. This one 93 decibels, not very impressive. It beats the Motorola Moto G5, Xperia XZ1 and Galaxy S9 Plus, but scores below the Nokia 6 and the LG Q6. That's a bit of a bummer. The camera is done, and now let's talk about the camera. And we have a dual camera setup at the back. So this dual camera setup involves the dual tone flash and a combo of 12 megapixel and 5 megapixel. The 12 megapixel one has one f.7 aperture, f1.7 aperture, dual pixel technology, and the other one, the 5 megapixel one, is used for depth perception. And we also have 4K video capture, full HD 60 frames per second, and the front camera is an 8 megapixel shooter, so 8 megapixel here, and its own LED flash for the brighter selfies. The camera UI is familiar, it's basically the same with what we saw on the Moto X4. We got the cutout mode, we got the spot color and all that thing, so no love for stock UI this time around. So we have a pretty large gallery here as per usual, so I'm going to pick only some of these shots. The first part of the gallery was done in a cloudier weather, and then somehow it got sunnier, one would say too sunny. My first impression was that the colors were a bit washed out, they had no soul, but the details were actually not that bad. That's the first impression, and very solid close-ups. The phone can really handle its own when you're taking macros. You can do zoom up to 8x, of course details will drop, and it takes a few attempts to get a proper and real macro, or better said bokeh, or if you want to call it portrait. Anyways, if you want to get a good portrait with a special portrait option, you really have to be patient, zoom in and find the ideal distance. A problem that the Nokia 7 Plus also had, but in this case it's actually fixed. Not a big fan of the way HDR whitens things out, it does it a bit too much, but when it's sunny it actually comes into play nicely. Selfies aren't bad, loving the face texture, the eye texture, the hair texture, the color, and the thing I love the most here was the fact that finally we have a phone which does not oversaturate or burn the background, what's behind me. And this is one case where HDR was actually useful. Cloudy day, voila, HDR does the trick, although tends to whiten things out. So we go further a bit, the sun came out and it's a whole different ball game. Behind me you can see some burn, but it will disappear at some point. We had some problems with the sky. The sky was always caught in a weird way. I'm talking about the strange color. It's not a very realistic color, to be sure, and you can feel that for the front camera shots and the back camera shots. Some impressive shots of a church. Color me impressed by the zoom, almost as impressed as I was with the Nokia 7 Plus. Some nice colors and close-ups here again. As you can see, we have a pretty generous gallery for sure. The colors are well calibrated, I'll give you that much. I didn't feel anything wrong except for the sky. My main problem is always with the sky. You can see it here. It's an unnatural blue. Reminds me of the over-sharpening and over-saturation of the Samsung Galaxy A5 2017. Some nice close-ups of food, and when you're indoors, the edges of the pics will be a bit softer. Overall, it feels like something like 10% less impressive than the Moto X4. That's my impression. Those are the daytime shots, so it can fight a Sony Xperia XA2, I would say, and the Nokia 6.1, but not the Moto X4 and the Nokia 7 Plus. Here are the low light shots. We have a bunch of fuzzy halos at first and some mediocre zoom. Every once in a while you'll find some purple hues and annoying blue hues at the edges of the shot, but in the later pics you'll find that the street light halos are of a more decent size. Sadly, I also spotted some sort of annoying fog. The flash handled its task quite okay. The portrait mode was also on point. Some nice colors here, but there is that annoying blue hue or purple hue that appears at the top every once in a while. At least we're left with a decent brightness and not so bad colors. Those are the pics. Let's talk videos. Okay, so on the video front, I'm going to start with the daytime video capture. One thing I noticed is that the videos were echoey, so the microphone doesn't quite behave well. Bit of a metallic sound. It's as if you're in a wind tunnel of sorts. I'm happy with the color calibration. The sky is pretty much off unless you focus on it. If it's in the background, it gets oddly blue, cyan blue, or simply white. A bit shaky, my first impression. So not optimal stabilization, pretty good clarity. I would say it can fight an iPhone 6, iPhone 6s, clarity-wise. We also have a 4K video at some point. And we also shot stuff in 60 frames per second, moving stuff. Not bad clarity, not bad colors. The sky is my main concern here. And believe it or not, one of the best attributes about the phone's filming is the way it films using the front camera. Now this is a video shot in motion. The phone doesn't have OIS, that's for sure. It only has electronic stabilization. So, and it actually handles things decently with the electronic stabilization. Many tourists here trying to go between them, and not bad. No flicker, no refocusing, no frame drops. Pretty decent electronic stabilization. Now with the front camera, let's see what happened there. We have a 60 frames per second video here. Not bad, but the sky is poor, and in this video the colors are also pretty bad. I keep promising you a front camera video, and it's actually not bad. You can do a bunch of video blogging with it while on vacation without burning your background. And that's pretty important. I've seen even flagships burning backgrounds, creating weird shots, so that's a big plus for me. I would have to say that this phone can fight something like Sony Xperia X8 II, minus the sky and the weird microphones, and it would even fight the Nokia 7 Plus if it weren't for the pesky microphone and the weird sky with the back camera. A low light doesn't even deserve a mention. It's pretty poor for sure. You can see it here. It's grainy, it's flickering, colors aren't optimal, the brightness is just decent. So, and the microphone, once again, not impressive. I would even say it's below average. It's like Nokia 5 or less than that. So we're going to remain with a pretty good selfies, nice color calibration minus the sky, pretty decent zoom in photos, and an iPhone-like clarity in general. Okay, so that's it when it comes to the photos and videos. For the web browser we have Chrome, obviously, and I'm going to load up gsm.com on Chrome. The benchmarks are rather poor, talking about SunSpider and Velamo, but the scrolling is quite fluid. The keyboard is stock and has a bit of swipe in the mix. And when it comes to connectivity, we are treated with 3 microphones, a USB Type-C port at the bottom, we got the audio jack, we got 4G LTE, we got Wi-Fi ABGN, we got a GPS, there's also HGPS, Beidou, GLONASS, Bluetooth 4.2, NFC, Google Cast, and dual nano SIM card slots on the device. That's for sure. Got the SIM cards here, SIM1 and SIM2. The calls were pretty okay clarity wise, and the speaker was decently loud. We also did a bunch of tests, talking about speed tests, connectivity tests. Impressive in the Wi-Fi, 294 megapers downloads, 25.4 megapers uploads, and on 4G 56.5 over 57.9. Usually we've seen phones getting to 90 megapers here, so expected a tad better. Now on the software front, you can already see there's a feature here, something like glance. Leave the phone like that, pick it up, it shows you stuff, notifications, info, weather, time, things like that. Well, maybe not weather, but who knows. Anyways, that was the glance feature. We got a pretty stock Android Oreo 8.0.0. You wouldn't have heard to get the latest security patch and 8.1, but that's life. So when it comes to multitasking, you got this thing here, the carousel. You can do a bunch of split screen. So for once you can go through the music and browse the web, not Hello Kitty, hopefully. So go through music, browse the web in split screen. That's one of the things you can do here. Other aspects, well, we got the Google feed on the leftmost home screen, displaying your weather, your news, and whatever is happening in your life, in your country. We got the wallpaper, widgets and settings. Widgets are pretty stock. Speaking of stock, also stock is the drop down area, notifications and quick settings with Dolby Audio at the forefront. Now here in the settings area, nothing out of the ordinary. Sound, storage, security, user and accounts, system. I'm going to show you the info, Android 8.0, and a security patch is April. I actually wanted more, but that's that. When it comes to security, I got a fingerprint scanner here. Not the best placement. It's kind of small, not very comfy, and you're going to see it's also not very fast. Okay, confirming the pin. We are done. The sensor has been found. Get ready, and here we go. The setup process involves something like 15 steps. Okay, fingerprint has been added. We're done, and let's see just how snappy it is. So there's quite a delay here. Something you will not see on flagships, on even other mid-range phones. So not the fastest in the world, but at least the accuracy is spot on, I would say. Now we're in that part of the review where we analyze things like, I don't know, notification dots, badges, and how many apps we have installed here. How many of them? Well, 26 apps, that's how many I counted. Of course, the focus will drop certainly on the one called Moto. So Moto includes some features, extra features. Night display, reducing the blue light, storage recommendations, power recommendations, and the special Moto features like Moto Key. You can use your fingerprint scanner to access sites and apps. Moto actions, basically gestures, you know them from other phones, they're pretty straightforward. Chop twice for the flash. And I actually activated the interesting Moto voice by mistake. Apparently they're developing their own assistant somehow. Moto voice. Hello Moto. Well, didn't catch that. So basically if you were to say hello Moto, at some point you'll be able to pull off a command. How many calories in 2 pieces of bread?
Showing search results for how to pull off a command.
Okay, so it understood I say how to pull off a command. Okay, let's try again. What's the weather like?
The weather is 66 degrees and there are light rain showers in Dobresk.
How many calories in 2 bananas?
There are 210 calories in 2 medium raw bananas.
Okay, so it's getting there, it's evolving. What can Moto Voice do? Search locally, control system settings, control apps, check food and nutrition. That's only the start. It's in beta and I have a good feeling about this. Okay, so that's about it as far as the apps go. It's time for the verdict. Okay, so since it's a verdict, I'm going to go ahead with the pros and cons. On the pro side, it's a pretty looking phone for sure. One would say even prettier than the Moto X4. It's got a very, and I mean very bright screen. Okay performance, okay battery in my book. Not bad selfies, also not a bad selfie video. I would have to say the bokeh is also kind of good. Nice zooming in. Solid selfie video, stock Android Oreo, really fast charge, and a nice UI overall, especially a nice UI for the Moto Voice in beta. It feels a bit promising even though it doesn't have many features. Those are the pros. On the cons, I would have to say, well, the device is certainly wide, that's for sure, uncomfortably wide at times. The brightness of the screen is not constant. The top and bottom of the screen. The video playback time should have been longer compared to other phones, talking about the battery. Not very impressed by the acoustics overall, some oversaturated pics. Bokeh takes a few tries to get right, portrait I mean. A poor low light capture even by mid-range phone standards. Echoey microphone and, believe it or not, no notification LED. So in the end, once again, it's a lighter Moto X4. That's the vibe I'm getting. The camera is not there just yet, but performance-wise should be on par or even on top of it according to some benchmarks. For me, it's more of a selfie machine, more of a bokeh machine, and even a gaming machine, as revealed by the 10 hours of battery life in continuous usage. So it's for the traveling gamer who takes vlogging selfie videos. That's it, you're going to take selfie videos and game on this device. Acoustics were a bit underwhelming for me. Other than that, performance, battery, and the screen especially were spot on. So if you can't afford the Moto X4, you can buy this without regrets. Maybe something like 10% lesser quality in the camera department. Basically a cheaper Moto X4. This is it from us, from gsno.com. Bye bye.